Hello guys and welcome. This is NINJI and we're on our next tutorial video. So today we're going to discuss specifically Archer class because that is my favorite and also my main one. And a lot of people seem to be quite confused how to properly build it and what's the best build for it, because a lot of people get confused and don't get on the right way of building this hero and they simply leave it. And to prevent all that, I'm making this video to guide people to get them on the right way of how to build it and what you need in order to make it happen. To make it one of your favorite classes possibly. Right, so we're going to start off with gear. So what do we have down here? So specifically, obviously, the endgame gear would be mythical, which is, I would say, the same for every class, but you have to choose, obviously, specifically the one for HongRyoung in this version. That's how it's called. So all three top parts will be for your class. Gloves and boots don't matter because they are same for every class as long as it's leather. So leather is the one for Archer, okay? Also, you have to make sure all of your items have got fighting spirit, primal attribute, I think that's how you call it. So, yeah, that's pretty much it about it. Weapon, there's two different types of it. However, I personally do recommend the Dimensional Portal Destroyer Fighting Will. In my opinion, that might be better than the other one, which comes from the Dimensional Library, I think. Accessory set. I've got Twisted set. In fact, it does not have the set bonuses as the other set does, which is Destruction, I think. So most of people are choosing that. I have chosen this one mainly because of the elemental power. This accessory set has much higher elemental power rather than the other one. Why? Because I'm kind of hybrid build. I'm mainly focusing on my element, I would say so. I've chosen lightning, but I'm going to talk about it in a bit and not right now. So about the items, it's just straightforward really. All mythical, 3 top parts specifically for your class. That is a must. That's a no-brainer. Gloves, shoes, they are the most expensive ones out of armor parts, so you obviously leave that for the end. However, those are the same for any class, but it's just 3 different types: cloth, leather and armor. So obviously you're going to need a leather one as Archer. So artifact, that is entirely your own choice, but it's either piercing or smash, and it could also be element, whichever you're going for. So I'm going with piercing. I'll tell you in a bit why. Yes, piercing, because most of Archer's skills are based on piercing. As you can see, even the quick shot, which is the basic attack really, in fact you need to get it to at least level 3 to make it piercing attack, which is very much recommended because you will benefit a lot from that. So other than that, there is a second build which is called best friend build, so which is based on your hawk, if you like. So your bird friend, which is also dealing pretty great damage if you build it right. So I'm not going to go with that build because it is completely opposite to what I'm looking for. I'm looking for distant attacks, fast shots, very accurately targeted shots, so you have to aim a lot. It's not just bashing the keys as it is with the best friend build. And your most powerful skill will be charging shot, so you have to make sure everything that is connected to maximum draw as well as charging shot, that is exactly what you need. So about the skills, it's not a must that you have to do that, but I do recommend it. So use C level 4 quick shot. In my case, however, I do have extra skill points from the premium. Normally you would not be able to get it to level 4 if you build it the way I've done it. You would only be able to get it to level 3, which is, I would say, enough. It would not charge your drawback as quick as level 4, but trust me, it will still be fast enough. So that is good. So if you want to build the way I do it, so next one would be winged wind up. So that is to collect all of the mobs together very quickly, and it is a superb skill. It does not deal great damage, but it's more for very convenient and fast map clearing really. First two skills, you just leave them apart, you're never going to need them. Moving on to the next one, charging shot, your main skill which you want to max in all possible ways. Flip shot, definitely max it. No matter how newbie skill it looks like, it's actually a great skill. It not just deals great damage, it also grants you invincibility while you're doing it, and it breaks super armors instantly. It is a must, you have to get it. Flanking shots, I've maxed it because it has a little synergy with my imprint build. So you will get a lot of flanking arrows, which is actually the spiritual blue arrow. It's not the actual basic shot. So these are kind of working sideways with your basic shot and most of your skills as well. So it does release them, and they are homing arrows. They will track the target automatically, so that is super handy. And they will also work for your draw recharge, as you can see, +1 draw. Rain of arrows. You may not be using it often, but it will be useful at some point. So definitely get it. As you can see, it also breaks super armors. And it grants invincibility, not for a long time, but it is essential, so you will not get killed while you're casting the skill, so that is important. Threefold shot, it will not work well with this build, so leave it on level 1 just as a filler. Once all of your skills are completely on cooldowns, well, it's still entirely your choice. You can just use basic attack. However, the range between basic attack and threefold shot is slightly different. Threefold shot has slightly longer range, so you may want to use it a little bit. However, it does not have any specific abilities unless you actually level it up. Unfortunately, we do not have enough skill points for that, so we'll leave it at level 1. Next one, very important skill, arrow barrage. Why important? Because it probably is one of your skills that has the longest invincibility, as well as it grants really good damage. It is superb damage, so you definitely want to max it out to level 4. Buffeting shield. So this is quite controversial skill because a lot of people would consider it to be very important. I do agree it is, but it is not a damaging skill in my case. It is only a defensive skill. It says grants invincibility. It is only at a point while you're casting it, which is roughly about 1 second. So that's quite irrelevant. As you can see, the type of damage is smash, so that is not good for us. We need piercing, yeah. So we will leave it at level 1 because it still grants you 90% damage reduction. So that is really good. In fact, there will be raid bosses which will completely ignore all of the damage reduction bonuses. If you encounter such thing, you will die anyway. I mean, only iframe's going to save you. But in a normal fight, normal brawl, it will be very useful. Also, it does give a little bonus for the attack speed and movement speed. So, yes, why not? However, in our case, it does not. As you can see, it's only level 1. You need level 2 in order to get those bonuses. I hope Archer's going to get some more skill points in the future, because it seems to be a little bit lacking them. Right, moving on to the next one. Exploding Arrow. It is very strong skill. Super fast charging, however, does not give invincibility. You don't really need it because, as I said, it is super fast. Cooldown 60 seconds. So 1 minute, that is a lot. So you will not be using it a lot, but there will be moments when you will definitely need it. Don't be afraid to use it at any boss type monsters. This is one of the skills you definitely want to shoot out as first one. Also, it does grant you super armor, but it is probably only for a second, so you don't really need that. What it does is it destroys super armor, and that is important. As well as a little bit about your items again. So, Exploding Arrow. There is one item which will give you slight bonus in this case. Okay, well, I can't find it right now, but it is a fact that Exploding Arrow will give slightly bigger damage, okay? So you want it as definitely. Also, why you should focus on charging shot. As you've noticed, top armor gives 15% extra charging shot damage, and that is very a lot. It is very much, so you definitely want to add that to it. Right, moving on to the next one, Flights of Arrows. You definitely want to max it out. If you really want to invest extra skill point in something else, you can possibly leave it on level 3, but that is the lowest because it does reset every single of your skills. I obviously have it on level 4 because it does grant max draws of your charging shot as well as best friend stacks. So best friend, we've only got to level 1, yet we will still get a little buff which probably would grant us about 5% of the damage. Not much, but every little helps. But then again, maxes out your draw. What does that mean? That means right after this skill, you can use your charging shot with a full charge, as well as every single skill will reset. So, in order to use this skill, I definitely do recommend to use up all of the long cooldown skills that are super strong. Let's say Arrow Barrage and Exploding Shot. So I do not recommend to use Flight of Arrows before you've used up those two skills, because they will be usable again after this. Yes, it is a terribly long cooldown, 150 seconds, which is really a lot, but it's just superb skill, and it is super strong as well. Right, so that's pretty much all about the skills. So there is one little thing I would like to mention. This little corner over here. So there's two parts. One is Bow Mastery, 3 different types, and Shot Mastery, 3 different types as well. So for the Bow Mastery, it's entirely your choice. However, critical. It is a fact that 3000 critical is the cap, so you can't get more than that. Also, you do get a set bonus from gloves and boots, which is equal to 350 critical. So once you enter the dungeon, you get that buff, and it is not ending. The buff has got 60-second duration and 60-second cooldown. That means it's always on. So currently our crit rate is okay. So there we go. We've almost reached the cap, so there is no need for us to boost crit any higher. I mean, keep in mind, my costume set is so incomplete, and there will be lots of critical coming from it in the future, so do not touch critical. Attack speed, people say yes, Archer definitely needs it. However, our main skill is charging shot, so why on earth would we need attack speed? We need more damage. Critical damage. You say, why that? Is that even worth it? Right, if you max it out on level 3, you get 42% of extra critical damage, and that is a huge amount. Because critical damage used to be capped at 600%. I've currently got only 534%. That is quite a lot. However, apparently, according to the rumors, it's being capped at 800% now. So definitely go for that, and you will not go wrong with that. Shot mastery, charging shot. As I said, whatever is connected to charging shot or draw, do it. You need to get it. So charging shot max, level 2. What does that do? That will give you extra draws. It is quite confusing stat. It's not entirely explained within the game. However, there is some information available online, and I obviously needed to search it in order to be able to explain it to you guys, and also to find out if it's really worth upgrading it. And yes, so what does it do? So the more draw you've got, the stronger is your charging shot, really. That's how it works. Yes, you would say, yes, but that means you need to charge your charging shot longer. It is true. That's absolutely true. But there will be some little imprint trick. That's what I'm going to explain you in a bit. Flanking shot. Yes, it would be a very good thing to go for. However, flanking shot is very weak skill in general. As you can see, it only gives you 441% of the attack. So that is quite irrelevant amount. Yes, it will create quite big amount of flanking shot arrows, but that is not big enough damage. It will probably lock most of bosses and monsters on the place, which is very useful as well. But do not focus on that skill as damaging skill, yeah? Next up is Best Friend. Okay, so this can be used. You can go with that build, but in order to do that, you definitely need a different skill build and different imprint set, which is going to be called Best Friend. So all your skills will be smash, well, most of them, and this is it really, because it's just classed as smash attack, so therefore piercing attack will no longer be as useful for yourself, which will kind of be as a hybrid build, because you will still have some of the major skills as piercing. But as you can see, buffeting shield in that case would be one of your main damaging skills. As you can see, it's a relatively close range attack, so your whole fighting system would be, I would say, close combat. In my opinion, that is a bit wrong for Archer, because Archer seems to be a long distance character. It makes no sense if you have to go in close range as an Archer. But with this build, this is how it works. as well as Winged Wind Up would be your other skill. It is not a big deal. It's kind of similar wages, different skills, but what it does is you have very low cooldowns on best friend skills, and you just keep bashing them non-stop, and including Buffeting Shield, which means you pretty much all the time have got 90% damage reduction. So the maximum damage output might be slightly lower than Charging Shot build, however you would be super tanky. But then again, there will be bosses that will one-shot you regardless of whether you've got the buff on or not. So this is your own choice. But today we're focusing on Charging Shot. Next up, Imprints. So, as you can see, I've gone for Full Draw, which is basically Charging Shot Imprint set. So what does it do? So first one is Flanking Shot, tracks enemy for 2 seconds. And there can be up to 12 arrows at the same time. What does that mean? It seems like a bit crazy thing, but it really works that way. For 2 seconds, the arrows will be surrounding the enemy. They will be floating around the enemy and constantly piercing through it. And there will be eventually up to 12 arrows just circulating around the enemy. And they are also homing ones, which means as soon as new enemy appears nearby, they will instantly track it down and attack it. So that is super important. So in that case, you will keep all your enemies locked down on the spot for 2 seconds at least at all times, and that is really important, and that is very useful. However, damage wise, that is not very strong skill, but there you go. You'll see you can build all sorts of synergies damage wise later on, let's say with element. I'll explain that a bit later. So next set bonus is fifth step of charging, expands all draws and deals triple damage. So basically Charging Shot damage times 3. Currently what we've got is 21,000 on charge 5, yeah? Times 3, so that would be 63,000. That is excluding 27%, which is coming from the high imprints. Yeah, that is excluding 15% from the top armor part, and that is excluding abilities. I'll get into that in a bit. Let's finish about imprints first. So yes, it will take hell of a lot of time to charge up Charging Shot to the maximum draws. Once you've maxed all the draws out, if you've only got 2 imprints, but it will deal triple the damage, and that is gonna be a lot. Why you need 3 sets of this is because the next one is the most important part. So when draw is over 100, it grants full draw buff. So it's not just a buff, it also grants you full draw. So basically you only need to charge it up to 100 and you will get full draw. Basically you can charge full in about 1 second. Yeah, in about 1 second, and it will be max draws, it will be triple damage, and also you will get a full draw buff, which is 4% the damage, 30 piercing bonus for every 25 draws. In rough calculation, on the endgame build you would get approximately 200 to 300 of draw. So that would be a lot. So that would be basically about 20% extra damage and about lots of piercing. And what does piercing mean? I will explain you a bit later. So also during full draw cannot fall below 50. What does that mean? So when you do your full charge, it does not fall empty. You start with 50 draw, which means you only have to charge up another 50. However, I've noticed a slight glimpse in that. It does not always work as it says. That could be like a little glitch in the game, I don't really know. But most of the times it really works that way. The draw does not fall below 50, which means you charge up another 50 and you've got another full draws. So it is super simple once you get all 3 imprints of that set. Okay, next one, which I don't want to go for, is it's called Retribution. However, I would rather call it Best Friend imprint set, because this is like I said, more of a close combat set, super tanky, a lot of skill bashing, very low cooldowns of certain skills, the ones which are connected to Best Friend. And that's really it. They will be dealing slightly more damage than without this imprint set, but then again, in my opinion, the total damage output will not go above full draw. The top imprint set, Arrow Missile, I personally would not recommend to go for, because it only has a few certain skills that will be dealing relatively okay damage. However, nothing really that great, because it's based mainly on I would say starting skills like Wide Shot, which has got relatively low base damage. So if you go for this, it might be enjoyable, but it might not be very effective. So I don't recommend to go for that. So high imprints, if you go for Charging Shot, it is a no-brainer. Every single one of 9 has to be 3% Charging Shot attack power. So in order to that, you're going to reach 27% extra attack power for that skill specifically. Next one, Force. Obviously, you want to max this out. Forget about defensive ones. Those are in-game stuff if you do feel like you need more. Max out all of the damages. That is important. But it's got nothing to do with the build, because it is the same for every single build and every single character. Right, next up, ability. Very important thing. So first one and most important, Charging Shot. Why that? Because it does give 0.2% extra skill damage on each level, and that is maximum you can ever get on any skill. So 0.2 is a lot. Times 100, this is the result, 20% extra. So that is the final level, level 100. Unfortunately, that is currently the cap. Other 2 skills, that is entirely your own choice. However, in my opinion and my playstyle, these are the most useful ones. Flip Shot, because it has relatively high base damage, 21,000. That is a lot. That is really a lot. It breaks super armors. It does give Best Friend 1 stack, and grants Invincible, so which is iframe, and it also has 9 seconds cooldown. So that is really superb. So you want to go with that, because you also can achieve 20% damage extra, which is max. And then Arrow Barrage. Why that? Because it has only 30 seconds cooldown. Yes, it is slightly more than other skills, but it is really good skill. It does also grant you Invincible, and I mean, it is quite bizarre thing. I've not seen that on any other skills, any other class. It gives 100% extra attack power on enemies with super armor. So most of bosses in the endgame play will have super armor infinite. So what does that mean? Once you use the super armor break skill, it will break it for a certain amount of time, not eternally, yeah? So once that duration will be over, it will get its super armor back. So in that case, you would either want to start the battle with arrow barrage. It might seem ridiculous, but it will deal twice as much damage as if the monster would have no super armor. So that is absolutely fantastic. Or exploding arrow, which will grant you extra damage on any other skills. I can't picture which item was given it, but there is a trick with that item. I mean, with that skill. Yeah, well, I can't currently find it. I don't know where exactly was it. Okay, well, that's not that important at the moment. So, as I said, these two skills are your entire choice. You can go either with flanking shot or winged wind up, because you use those two a lot as well, and you can get 20% once you max them out on each of those as well. So experiment, go for it, and comment down below if you find something else more useful than these two. I'll be glad to hear your feedback. Next up, Chaos Dungeon. So Chaos Parallel Labyrinth. People say it's quite hard. I did not find it difficult. Possibly it's been changed within last few most recent patches, game updates, because I only started to do it quite recently. As you see, I've gone up to 18, 17 and 17 levels, which is quite high, because apparently level 20 is maximum. So why I've gone exactly for these ones? Because in my opinion, as the endgame stats, these will benefit you far more than any other ones, yeah? So critical damage, normal damage and attack power, because attack power resonates with your fighting spirit. So the more fighting spirit you've got, the more attack you've got. So what does that mean? That means every 400 fighting spirit, this is not just about this class, it's about any class. So your primal attribute, every 400 is exactly to extra 100% of your attack power. Extra 100%. So if you've got 800, that's extra 200%, and so on. I've seen some endgame builds with, let's say, rare costumes and legendary weapons, because they do grant quite a lot of primal attribute. They reach over 1200, and that is hell of a lot. That is basically 300% extra attack power. So in my case, as you can see, I'm gaining extra 212% of the attack power from 1069 fighting spirit. That is quite a lot, and that is exactly 297 attack. That is huge amount. If you check the weapon, it's only 76,000, and you get 297,000 just from your fighting spirit. That is crazy amount. So yes, that is very important stat. So next up, what we've got. So we've discussed ability, skills, imprints, orbs. Let's go with the orbs. Okay, so helmet is a no-brainer really. I mean, I've gone for critical plus critical damage because it's relatively cheap, and I do still need a bit more critical. That's the only reason. Otherwise, you can go for critical damage 27%, which is also relatively cheap, but in that case I would lose 90 critical, which is quite essential for me at this point. So I'm not changing it right now. There is an option which is super expensive, but that is the best option in the game at the moment, which is 200 critical plus 30% critical damage. And then there is an alternative version of that, which also grants 200 critical damage resistance. So yes, those are endgame and the most powerful head armor orbs. So that is the endgame build. So yes, definitely go for either 20 or 27% critical damage. Next up, top armor. What have we got here? I've got 4000 attack and minus 4% damage rate. See, a lot of people would say this is wrong. Don't do that. I would say no, it's not wrong, because that 4000 attack will be converted into 12,000 attack, if you like, because of primal attributes. Simple as that. So the more primal attribute you've got, the more powerful your attack will become. I mean, every single bonus of attack you can possibly put in a build will make even more sense as you build your primal attribute up. So it's just going to get more and more valuable. You can go with damage rate directly, but in order to do that, you have to go for the highest orb, which is, I think, 7 or 8% of damage rate, but it has no extra other attributes, so you would lose 4000 attack. I would say it's around the same CP wise, so combat power wise. I don't really know which is the best. I'm not keen to spend millions of gold just to test that. I believe the difference could be very little, so I'm going to stick with this for the moment. I might change it in further future for the highest ever top orb, but do not go for any lower than 7% damage rate. If you want to do that, go for 4000 attack, because that is huge amount. Next one, bottoms. This is not an expensive orb, so critical damage 3.4% and reduced hit rate 3%. Both really good options, so definitely get that. It is far better than 300 attack, which is the basic orb, so get this one because it's not expensive. If you feel like you're really rich, you can go for the 7% one. That's obviously the top one, but at this point even this will do. Next one, gloves. Hands. What we've got attack speed and damage rate. They seem like they are quite low options, low percentages, but they do give hell of a lot of combat power. Yeah, attack speed is it is giving a lot of CP in this game, so I mean, in reality that is not the actual damage output, but you still need combat power to enter certain dungeons and so on. Also, if you are basing a lot on your basic attack, that might help you very much. Also, apparently attack speed does speed up the animations of the skills. So for the archer, I would say it has a massive downside for me as well, because my iframes are very short as it is, and if I make them even shorter, then I would say I'm being left without any iframes. And for raid 2 and raid 4, that just doesn't work for me, because you need lots of iframes in those dungeons, those raids. Okay, next up, boots. So this is a no-brainer. HongRyoung shoes and enchanting orb. 500 attack, 2 attack speed and 3 movement speed. That is super good. These orbs are really cheap in the auction house. Why? Because they drop mainly in Titan from the very last boss, and the drop rate is pretty high. Let's say if you do 4 of them, I'm pretty sure you will get at least one of these, or you can just buy it in the auction house. They are relatively cheap, and this is just one step lower than the highest one, which is I think 700 attack and percentage is only 1% higher than these, so this is superb. This is a must. Weapon, and most important, orb. So why I've gone for the lightning rather than damage, critical damage. It is because Archer basically is a non-element class, same as many other ones like Eclair, Warp Mage. Okay, Warp Mage has got fire on some skills, but only on few. There is lots of classes which do not have any elemental attributes on the skills, which means you're a non-element class. In order to activate element on your skills and attacks, you do need an element on your weapon. So people are often asking questions. Does that mean that I've got element on my weapon if got it in the identified options? No, that is different. That does not grant your skills an element. You definitely need an element orb, which is usually called for instance, lightning weapon or poison weapon or ice weapon, fire weapon, and so on. So you can go with whatever you prefer. However, each of these elements has got its own special abilities and let's say special effects, and as well the damage is not quite the same. We'll explain that in a bit. Let's finish about the orbs. Let's move on to accessories. So next one is earrings. We've got so damage and element. So 80 is maximum you can get of an element on each accessory, and 2% damage as well, unless you want to go for 2.75% damage rate and 50 element. However, I do not recommend to do that because you will benefit far more if you will go for 80 element instead of 50. I will explain you why in a bit. So obviously accessories, you want to copy all of them because these are the best orbs in my opinion for my build. Also, as you can see, there is on 30, 60 and 90 points of your element you will get special special attribute rebuff. So basically you've got a buff, you're also debuffing your enemies, and you get special attack, so special elemental attack, so up to 3 levels of it depending on your elemental attributes. So in order to get the highest possible elemental ability from the accessory working, so there's one thing which probably some people don't know. Every single elemental orb for the accessory has got exactly the same elemental bonuses. Yeah, obviously they are different for each element, but elemental orbs for the accessories do have the same abilities. So it doesn't matter for which one you go. So you can start with the lowest ones, with like for instance 40 elemental option, and that will do just to activate your elemental bonuses. Yeah. Okay, so as you can see I've got the same for all 3, which is the best way to do. So also next one, artifact. I have gone for lightning because that is my main element. Why? It is a little secret. My in-game friends, some of them know why I've gone for that. I will explain that in a different video, not in this one, because that is going to be entirely a video about elements. I'm not going to talk about it right now, as well as I will include attack types in that video as well. So you definitely want to go for the orb on your artifact. Don't matter which artifact you've got, whether it's legendary or mythical, but you do need an orb. They are slightly more expensive than the other orbs, but they are very good. As you can see, piercing and fighting spirit, it works like glove in hand. So why would you go for smash, which is needed for best friend build? So let's go for this. and you will not go wrong. Talisman, there's nothing to know about that. Build it as high and as much as you can. There is only one way to go with that. I recommend to start with attack and critical. Leave the rest behind. Do stragglers camp on daily basis. You need 500 combat power in order to enter the dungeon. You can do it up to 2 times a day on each character, 3 times if you've got premium account. That's simple as that. The higher is your dungeon level, step, the higher is the chance that you're going to drop these items that can enhance those attributes. They are looking like this. So Talisman Origins, yeah. So attack and critical, that is the main one you want to focus on because they're most important. HP, don't worry about that. You will get it from the drops more than you can even use. Simple as that. Okay, next up, pets. Nothing much to know about that. Pet gems. Focus. Focus on the ones that give you the most damage, and that is it. Simple as that. Next up, what's left? Catalapis. Nothing much to know about that. However, Catalapises do have orbs as well. So make sure you put legendary orb on it, which all of them have got 3000 attack. Then the other option is entirely your choice. The boss one is being considered as the most valuable one, which is also the most expensive one. It grants you boss hit rate and boss critical damage. I think it was 9 and 6%. This one, as you can see, all hit types will be slightly lower damage output. However, it will work on every single target without any differences. So that is applying to the global attack. Yes, this is my old Catalapis. In fact, my new one has 30 piercing and 3000 attack. So 30 piercing would translate roughly as 10% extra damage. I will not talk about it now. I will explain that in a next video about percentages and damages, what's the best to go for, as well as the elements. About this topic, what's left on is actually nothing much. Nothing much, to be fair. I think we've actually included everything. So just a little test. We're going to summon a monster. As you can see, elemental attacks are already working. So charge shot, full charge. 1 second, full charge. As soon as you see yellow light, that is full charge. Simple as that. And there is about 300 draws on it, which grants superb damage. So what have we done? So charging shot. Okay, it says 5. Okay, it calculates average damage from 5. In reality, I only did 1 shot because I was charging 5 times. So basically, that is 9.5 billion each shot. Not too bad, is it? And my element does 6.4 billion. So you might want to wonder why is that so big damage with an element. You will not find about it out now. That I will include that in my next tutorial video, and possibly I will give away my secret about the elements. Why exactly have I chosen lightning? Okay, that's all from me today. That was the tutorial about the archer. As I said, I do recommend to go with charging build if you feel like you want to test best friend build, or even the other one. Give me a shout. Let me know in comments down below how you went on with that. How effective is it? And I'll be looking forward for your feedback. Alright, that's all for me now. That was NINJI, and thanks for joining my tutorial video. See you another day. Bye.